Welcome to Pet Sitter Confessional. Today we're brought to you by our friends at Time to Pet and NAPS, the National Association of Professional Pet Sitters. What sets you apart? Whether we're in a crowded market or a sparse market, we still need to find ways to stand out in the minds of our client. Be it branding, messaging, client onboarding, unique services, at the end of the day, what we hope will set us apart from somebody else is the actual peace of mind that we can give a client. Cathy Duvall, owner of Going to the Dogs, shares her journey of changing her market from an urban to a rural setting, how she markets and has grown her business and has accepted a slower pace of growth while she focuses on quality over quantity at every step of the way. Cathy also shares about how she's learned to set boundaries better to benefit her and live the life that she actually wants. Let's get started.
Yes. Hi, Colin. It was a pleasure to meet you at the Texas Pet Sitters Conference. And thank you so much for asking me to join you for a podcast. As Colin said, I am Cathy Duvall. I am the sole proprietor of Going to the Dogs Pet Sitting. I currently live in a small town in the North Georgia mountains called Mineral Bluff, Georgia. And it is near Blue Ridge, Georgia, if anybody has heard of Blue Ridge, Georgia, in the North Georgia mountains. I started my business when I lived in metro Atlanta in 2015. I lived in the suburbs, a city called Cumming, Georgia, about 20 miles north of the city of Atlanta. And I started my business there. And then in 2018, my husband and I relocated to Mineral Bluff because we were looking at long-term goals of retirement. And so I pretty much shut down my business in Cumming, moved up to Mineral Bluff, and started over in 2018. And I primarily take care of dogs, cats, birds, and fish. Anything I don't have to feed live bait to, I'm happy to care for. I don't do a lot of livestock. I do some chickens. And I will take care of horses if it's just the basic needs, feeding, providing water, putting the hay out, things of that nature.
You mentioned the don't have to feed live bait to. Was that an experience that taught you that, or is that a barrier that you knew going into this that you didn't want to do?
Yes, I learned that when I lived in Cumming. I had a client. I loved him. He was with the Forsyth County Sheriff's Department, and he had a couple of boa constrictor snakes. And I'll go off on a little tangent. The way he came about getting these snakes, he had to serve an eviction notice. And the boyfriend scooted out, left the girlfriend with these two boa constrictors, and she didn't want the snakes. So my client said, I will take them. And he named them Guinness and Stout. And I think he thought they were male and female. It turned out they were both male. But he had these snakes, and he also had German Shepherds. I took care of his dogs and the cats that he had. And I told him, I said, okay, I'm great with the dogs and the cats. And he also had a macaw bird. And I said, I'm okay with all of those, but Alan, I don't know about the snakes. He said, oh, that's okay, Cathy. You don't have to do anything. Just if you'll go in the room where there's a humidifier, make sure the humidifier is running. You don't have to do anything with a habitat. And I said, okay. So I walk in this room. Not only was Guinness and Stout in the room in their habitat, there were other snakes in the room. And it kind of freaked me out. I'm like, oh, okay. Hey, everybody, how you doing? I'm just coming in here to check the humidifier. So that taught me, okay, I don't think snake care is really for me. So fast forward to when I moved up here to Mineral Bluff, I have a client that I do overnight assignments for. And she has dogs. She had a kitty cat that passed away, and she had a king snake that was 15 years old that passed away last year. And I go to the meet and greet, and I took my husband with me, and she said, oh, well, I said, as long as I don't have to do live bait. She said, okay, you don't have to. But what she told me was, well, here's how you have to prepare Striker's meal. You get this frozen mouse out of the freezer and you microwave it, and then you just put it in his habitat. And I thought, oh God, I can't do that. My husband said, well, I can do it. And I said, good. If I have to feed Stryker, you're going to come up here and do it. I can't do it. And so luckily, when I did the overnight assignments, she only had to feed the snake every 10 days. And so luckily, my assignments would be in the period that he didn't have to eat. So, but I could check his habitat, make sure the habitat was at the right temperature, make sure he had water in the habitat. I would stand there at the glass and talk to him. I would take pictures of him. So I could do that. But that whole, feeding, no. Alive man, that's just not me. There are people who can do it. I admire the sitters who can do it. More power to you. That's just not Miss Cathy's thing. Can't do it.
Well, it's so funny because it's definitely one of those things of on paper, it sounds good, right? Like, okay, yeah, I can probably do that. But just how important it is to go like, let me go see this. Let me go experience this before I fully commit to this, because I don't want to get in over my head or way outside of my comfort zone. Because we get those requests all the time of like, oh no, you won't need to do anything. You'll just need to look at them. And you're like, okay, sure, that's fine. But then like the gears start turning.
Exactly. And I would always make sure Stryker in his habitat, make sure when I go and put more water in that I close that sliding door so he can't scoot out, because the last thing I would need is him crawling all over the house and me freaking out. So, but yes, Stryker passed away. I was sad. I cried when he passed away. I got attached to him. He was, as snakes go, he was a sweet snake. I loved him from a distance.
Yeah. And that name Stryker for a snake, it's funny. We recently did a meet and greet, and the cat's name was Lucifer. And I came in and I said, let me tell you, nothing engenders more confidence in a pet sitter than one named Lucifer.
Exactly.
And she
Lucifer
just laughed, and she was like, no, it's just, when he was a kitten, he was kind of a terror. And I was like, okay. But it was just like, when I hear a pet snake named Stryker, I'm going to start asking some more questions.
Yeah, but I mean, he was great. It's just when she said, yeah, you take the frozen mouse out of the freezer, I'm going, oh, I was getting the heebie-jeebies. I couldn't do it. My husband said, I can do it. And I said, okay. Then if I have to feed him, I'm going to call you, come up and help with Stryker. And because that kind of thing does not bother him. I get a little wigged out about it. That's just, I don't like to be wigged out about it, but I get wigged out about it.
Well, it's just important to know, again, where those boundaries are and like how we set those, and then communicate those to our clients, and really why we need to be so picky about who we take on, and know where those lines are in our life.
Right. And setting boundaries has been, I'll admit, Colin, it's been difficult for me because I am a people pleaser by nature. I want to do everything I can to help clients with their pets. And sometimes when you don't set boundaries, then that comes back to bite you. And so I've been in business for 9 years, a little over 9 years, and I'm finally, the light bulb has gone off, going, I've got to set these boundaries. I can't keep going like this.
Right.
It's not healthy for me. It's not good for the client. It's not good for the pets. So I have to start setting the boundaries. It's not easy. It's not something that is natural for me to do. But I'm having to learn. And the big, powerful word no is in my vocabulary now. My husband always says, I'm proud of you. You're learning to say no, because there was a time I was not saying no, and I was running myself ragged. This is when I lived down in Cumming. And I had to learn I can't do that anymore. I have to, for my health, my physical and my mental health, I have to learn that powerful 2-letter word, N-O. And to use it.
Yeah, and actually say it right. What do you think was preventing you from saying no? Was it the people pleasing? Was it the concern of the business, or was it a combination of both?
Well, sure. Starting out, I mean, when I started the business in 2015, I had no idea if it would fly. I had no earthly idea. I kind of went into it and said, okay, I'm going to invest in the liability insurance, the dishonesty bond, the pet first aid CPR training. I'll get the business license. I will do everything I need to do to set this business up legitimately. And if it doesn't fly, okay, that's the money I spent, no harm, no foul. So starting out, I would say yes to everybody because you're trying to build a business. You don't want to say no when you have very few clients. Just you're starting out slowly. So I would take on anybody who needed visits. I would take on people and pets I probably shouldn't have, just because I thought, well, I've got to do this. I've got to start this business from somewhere. And when it got to a point where, okay, I can start saying no. I'm 61 years old. I started this business when I was in my early 50s. So I was not young when I started. More power to the sitters who start when they're younger. Kudos to you. And I said, I'm not a spring chicken, and I have to start looking out for my health and running myself ragged. Especially when I lived in Cumming, I was one of those foolish solo sitters who would take on clients, and I would find out I have 29 visits today.
Oh.
And I thought, because I couldn't say no. And my lovely husband, Garland, God love him, I would say, honey, can you help with the visits? And he would take vacation time from his job, and he would help me with those visits. So I would do probably 17 or 18 of the visits, and he would do 11. Now, that wasn't all the time. It was spring break, fall break, 4th of July week, the major holiday weeks. And then I thought, I can't do that. I can't do that anymore. And then when I moved up to Mineral Bluff, I haven't had that problem as badly. Yes, it can get busy holidays, especially Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July week, Memorial Day week, but I've not had 29 visits in a day. Thank goodness, since I lived in Cumming. But I said, well, I can't say no to people because I would get clients. They would really like me. They valued me. And I said, well, I can't say no to them. So I'd always try to fit them in. And the next thing you know, I'm going, why did I do this? Because I'm running from 6, 7 a.m. in the morning until 11 p.m. at night, eating crackers in the car, not being able to stop for lunch, not being able to go home. It was, the money was good, don't get me wrong, but it can't always be just about the money. It just can't. You have to balance it out.
Well, I know many people hit that wall, and it's a decision to make of, do I, and again, like, there's a lot that goes that tie into this, but some people will hit that wall and go, well, I need to hire, or I need to expand, or I need to do these things. And did you ever think about that possibility for yourself, or did you just go, no, I need to go this other route?
Right. When I started the business, I never considered hiring. And another kudos to sitters with staff. I admire them for being able to manage people. That is something I cannot do. That is something I don't want to do. It's just not in my DNA to do it. So as a solo sitter, you come across those challenges where you can't service everybody. Whereas if you have staff, you can, because you've got more people to go out and farm out to take care of all of the different clients. But starting out, I said, nope, hiring was never going to be a part of my business. And still isn't. And because managing people is difficult. People are people. And I would rather manage the pets than people. So that's why I've decided to stay solo. And I will remain solo because hiring is just not in it for me. And where I live, the work ethic, trying to hire somebody, how would I trust that they would go to the visits, not just quit on me? I mean, that some people handle that very well. I admire those people. That's just not for me. That's not stress that I want. I would rather say, I'm sorry, I'm booked up today, I can't take you, as opposed to having staff and going, okay, are they really showing up? Are they doing the job that I need them to do? Because my expectations are very high. A lot of people probably wouldn't work for me because I have very high expectations. I expect no less of anybody than I do myself. And I know my clients have high expectations. And so I have to keep my clients happy. They are the reason, and their pets are the reason I have a business to begin with. So I have to consider that.
When you've talked about your transition to Mineral Bluff a couple times and kind of the impact that it has on it. It sounds like you learned to say no before you made that transition. But I also noticed that you were in Metro Atlanta and then not Metro Atlanta. So
Right.
there's also a very big difference between the two communities that you're serving now. How has that shaped your business?
It is a huge difference. When I lived in Cumming, Forsyth County at one time was one of the fastest growing counties in the nation. My husband and I moved there in 2000, and the population was 90,000 residents in Forsyth County. By the time we moved in 2018, it was probably up to around 220,000.
Whoa.
And it's projected to be up to 400,000 by 2030. Now, from a business standpoint, woohoo, that's great. Look at all of these the density. You've got this high density, a lot of people, you can get a lot of clients, but also with that, it increased traffic. The time to get from visit to visit increased dramatically from 2015 to 2018. And so it was like, okay, my husband and I, we had our vacation home here in Mineral Bluff since 2006. And he decided, he goes, I'm looking long term for retirement. And he said, I would like to sell one of the houses, and you know which one I want to sell. I said, okay, we'll move to Mineral Bluff. So stupidly, because in Cumming, my business took off very quickly. I thought, okay, I'll just start it over in Mineral Bluff. And it has taken longer because Fannin County, the county that I live in, has 24,000 residents. So you're talking 10% of the population of Forsyth County. And so I thought, I'll just start the business up. Well, it was slow to start because there were fewer people here. And then having to cope with COVID in 2020. Business was 2018. I was starting to little bit of foothold. I would put my business cards out at local businesses, at the veterinarian's offices, at the groomer's offices, getting my name out there. Then in 2019, things were starting to really go well. And then 2020 hit. And we all know what happened then, the whole domino effect. You've got all of these visits lined up spring and summer. And then all of a sudden, they're gone because people wanted to travel, but they couldn't. Nobody was going anywhere. Nobody needed the service. And so I had to build back from COVID. And in 2021, things were I was on record to have a very, very good year in 2021. But then in the fall of 21, I fainted and I fell. I dislocated my foot, fractured my fibula, had to have a surgery, and I had to be off my feet for 2 solid months in the fall. I had fall bookings all booked up. I could not do them. My husband, who I have to give him props, he has a full-time job. He's blessed that he gets to work remotely. He has a consulting business. He was having to take care of me. He was having to take care of our elderly dogs, but he did my visits for me from September through January of 2022 until I could be back on my feet. And I did suffer a few client losses. There were overnight visits that I could not do. And there were no other professional sitters bonded and insured up here at the time that I knew of that I could refer to. And so, I lost in the fourth quarter of 2021 was just toast. And so that taught me I have to slow down. That was nature's way of saying, all right, you're going. Because I kept saying in the fall, after Christmas, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to take some time off in January. And it didn't happen. So guess what? I was forced to take time off. And so that taught me I can't go at the pace I was going before September 15th of 2021 when I had that accident. And so it's been a struggle. I've had 2 ankle surgeries since that first one. And the third one was January of last year, just dealing with all kind of complications from the ankle injury. And so fortunately, knock on wood, I've not had any surgeries yet in 2024, but that taught me, Colin, that I just can't take on anybody. I can't, my service radius is 20 miles from my home. people in the city and the suburbs would go, you are crazy.
Yeah.
But they have to understand people are not stacked up here. Fannin County is a pretty large county. People are scattered all over. My furthest client is 20 miles away, and it takes 30 minutes to get to her. If I had a radius of 5 miles, I would have 4 clients.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is up here. So that's part of being in a rural area. It's not for everybody. A lot of people would go, I wouldn't do that. But when I moved up here, I knew it was a rural area. I knew I would not be able just to go 5 miles to get to a client's home. But I also saw that I felt there was a need here for a professional pet sitter that provides the service and has the credentials that I do. And so that's why I started the business. And it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. And that's another reason I don't hire, because I have days where I don't have that many visits. There are other days I do. So I cannot guarantee anybody any kind of work. Yes, you'll be working next week. I don't know from one week to the next. I can think, next week's going to be really slow. I can get administrative tasks taken care of. And then boom, clients will go, hey, are you available next week? Well, yes, I am. So it's just the nature of the beast here. It's, as I said, it's not for everybody, but I wanted to give people who live here the option of having a professional pet sitter if they want to hire one, to have someone with my credentials to go, hey, I've found somebody to take care of my pets that I can trust, that gives me peace of mind. And so that's why I decided to go ahead, instead of leaving Cumming and just retiring from pet sitting altogether. I said, I'm not really mentally ready to retire yet. Let me see what I can do with it up in Mineral Bluff. And it has its moments. I mean, it's really weird from year to year. I keep a spreadsheet to show each month of each year. How did I do compared to last year? How did I do compared to the year before? And it's bizarre because last year, which was a great year for me, 2023, oddly enough, April, June, and September, my revenue was down about 40%. And those are months that are usually very, very busy. Couldn't figure out why. But then I'm sitting there in the fall of last year, September, looking at November and December, and I thought, man, those months are going to be dead. I thought, okay, I'm going to do continuing education. I'm going to take care of administrative tasks. Well, November and December ended up being very busy, and December was my best month ever since I've started the business in 2015. So you just don't, it's a crapshoot. It really is. And it's, you don't know. It's hard to plan. Okay, well, I made this much in 2023. Yeah, I think I'll make this much in 2024. I don't know that I will.
Right.
I hope I do, but I don't know. So you just have to roll with the changes and take it as it comes.
Have you heard of Time to Pet? Chris Ann from Raining Cats and Dogs has this to say.
Becoming a Time to Pet client has been a game changer for us. We can give our pet services clients real-time, cloud-based information they never imagined they'd be interested in. And most importantly, to me personally, I can better manage my company and look forward to more. And not a small thing, Time to Pet is responsive to my requests for new features and modifications to existing ones.
If you're looking for new pet sitting software, give Time to Pet a try. Listeners of our show can save 50% off your first 3 months by visiting timetopet.com/confessional.
Well, and serving such a dispersed population too, I am curious, Cathy, how people are finding you, or how you're getting connected with people. Because putting, just as an example, a lot of times we'll say, "Oh, how do you get started in business?" Well, put a flyer up at a coffee shop, and it's like, well, if somebody's 20 miles away from you, it's the foot traffic at that coffee shop for that population, for that town that you're serving, probably isn't going to be big enough. So what is that aspect like for you running that?
Okay, well, when I first moved up here, I did the whole business. I would go around, introduce myself to people. The veterinarian that I had up here, I had business cards at my vet's office. And then there's a restaurant, a great breakfast lunch restaurant in our area. And the owner has become a really good friend of mine. She is wonderful. She said, hey, just put your business cards out at my restaurant. And that's how a few clients found me. They went to have breakfast. They saw the card. They called me. They hired me. So then I found out up here we have some group Facebook pages for the community. And that has been a huge help in getting my name out there, because people will go on the pages and they'll say, I'm in search of a dog sitter. And then all of a sudden people will start naming people, hey, this, tagging people, right? Mm-hmm. So my name would come up a lot, and people would say, and I would also send a private message, because according to the Facebook group rules, you're not supposed to advertise your business on that post. So in the comment, I would go, hey, Sue Smith, I just left you a private message. Please let me know if you have trouble accessing it. So I would go and do Messenger. I would introduce myself, my qualifications, leave my website information, and a lot of times people would contact me. Now, sometimes I will do that and I don't get any kind of response from the person who posted. That's just part of the problem. So it's funny because my name will pop up on these Facebook pages left, right, and center. And the other thing that I do that I feel is very, very important is if somebody has recommended me, comment and thank that person. And I will say, hey, Joe, thank you so much for recommending me. I really appreciate it. I hope your dogs are doing great. If it's people that don't have pets, I have people that I know up here, they do not have pets, but they recommend me because they know me through the Humane Society of Blue Ridge, where I volunteer. They know me from other aspects of the community. They know my character, and so they will refer me. And so those Facebook pages, that has been really great in getting my name out there. So that put me on the map, because people go, I see your name. I've seen your name, and you come highly recommended. And that means a lot to me, because the only thing I feel that I carry through this life is my reputation. And I want to have that stellar reputation. And I want people to know that they have hired the best when they hire me. And unfortunately, in my area, I don't like to call it my competition, the hobbyists, and that don't have the credentials. They don't see the importance of the credentials. When I moved up here, I would meet somebody, oh, I'm a pet sitter too. And I go, great. Are you bonded and insured? No, but I have references. And I'm thinking references are really not worth the paper they're written on, because what's to say that you are giving a reference who is legitimate? You could pay somebody, Colin, $20 to sing your praises and say you're the best ever. And you could be cooking meth in the trailer and go to that client's house and steal everything they have to support your meth habit. So people don't understand the references. If that's all you've got, then give people references. But I have their credentials. I'm bonded and insured. I get a criminal background check on myself every year. And I keep thinking, with the first time I got the criminal background check in 2015, I'm thinking, oh God, did I do something in my youth that is going to come back and bite me in the behind? I'm thinking, well, I don't think so. I've lived a pretty straight and narrow life. So I know that I haven't done anything illegal, but my, potential clients don't know that. No. I can go in and you could think I'm the best thing since sliced bread, but I could be a criminal. And without that background check to prove I am an honest person, I'm trustworthy, I treat people the way I want to be treated. I'm not going to come into your home and steal from you. And I'm certainly going to do everything I can to keep your pet safe while you're gone.
It's an interesting discussion to have with people, because I do see those comments on Facebook pages all the time of looking for pets that are, and they'll say must have references. And I kind of stare at that. And I'm like, to say what, right? To say what about that person? Of course, they're going to only give you a glowing recommendation, or you're only going to give somebody who's going to have that. And that's not to say, because people may say, well, isn't that what a client referral is? And it's like, no, this is somebody who's used your services, who's raving about you. Like that's what you want. You want those people out there singing your praises and tagging you. But it is a different mindset. And I don't know if you've ever had this, Cathy. We live in an area that's not quite as rural as you are. Our county, I just had to look it up, has just almost 40,000 people. So we're
I'm moving
big
to
city
your
over
area,
here.
Colin.
But we've had people who have said things like, oh, I thought this was only this was only something big cities had, or the perception of the clientele over the population. was that this wasn't available to them. Do you have to work on overcoming that kind of education where you are, or are people still pretty familiar?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, no, education is huge. I'll share a story with you. Back in 2019, when I was volunteering with the Humane Society of Blue Ridge in person, I was going and working with the dogs. They take dogs and cats at our Humane Society. And I was working primarily with the dogs. I would go out, and this was before my accident, of course. I would go out in the dog runs, play with the dogs, spend time with the dogs. And there were a couple of gentlemen who had adopted a dog from the Humane Society, and they came back to volunteer. And we were all out in the dog runs, and I just struck up a conversation with them. And I told them, I said, I have a pet sitting business. And they said, oh, wow. And I said, yes. I said, I am bonded and insured. And they go, insured? I said, oh, yes, I carry liability insurance that protects your home and your pets. They had never heard of anything like that. And these were intelligent gentlemen. They had never heard of that. So we live it day to day. We understand it. We have to remember there are people out there who don't live it day to day. They don't live and breathe it. They don't have a clue what goes into being a professional pet sitter. They think all you need to do is put down some food and water for the pets, maybe scoop a litter box, and then you can leave. There's a lot more to it than that. And constant education. When you get through to someone, you want to go and dance a jig out in the road because you got through to somebody who didn't understand the concept of being a professional pet sitter. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they do, the light bulb comes on. Up here, I have only had one client that has insisted on hiring somebody who is bonded and insured. And the reason she did, she relocated. Her husband had been with the Pentagon, and they lived in Virginia, and they retired to Mineral Bluff. And she found me on Pet Sitters International's locator, because she had used a PSI sitter in Manassas. Yeah. And so she was so surprised. She goes, oh my gosh, there's somebody here in Mineral Bluff. Called me up immediately. And she has been a client of mine since probably 2019. But as a rule, people don't ask for, oh, well, you must be bonded and insured. Me personally, as a pet parent, that's what I would insist on. But because there aren't really any others up here, my husband and I don't travel without our pets. They go with us, our two dogs. I'm not going to leave them with just anybody. And so that's a problem here. I'm a professional pet sitter, but I don't have somebody that I can refer to come and take care of my dog, so that maybe we'd like to get away for a weekend. Yeah. We haven't traveled without our dogs since 2011. Because we just don't. It's if they can't go, we don't go. And so the education is huge. Trying to educate some of the hobbyists up here. I would say, look, I would love to meet you for coffee. I can tell you how to get bonded and insured. It's not a huge expense. You can make that money back. And they turn me down. They don't want to do it for whatever reason. A lot of the sitters, I'm thinking maybe they take the money under the table. I don't know for sure. And they don't want the overhead. They don't want to run it as a legitimate business. And I do. I would not be a pet sitter without that bond, without that liability insurance, without the pet first aid CPR, without the background check, and without all of the continuing education that I do. I would not even be doing it without all of that.
Yeah, it's interesting because you have that where you need to do that education to tell people about the level of care that you bring. But it's another thing if we can never make the person on the other end of that phone line care about it. And I think that can get really frustrating.
It is. I'm thinking, you love your dogs, you love your cats, but and then the other thing that just really gets my goat is people will travel and take an expensive vacation. You can't even go to Disney World, under 10 grand, probably a family of 4. They will spend all of that money, but then the pet care, they don't invest in that. They don't budget for it. And they'll go, I don't want to pay that much. They want as cheap as they can get. And I'm thinking that's really not fair to the pets. And it just really, you claim you love your pets so much, put your money where your mouth is. The other problem here is we have people who were born and raised here who live here and will always live here. We also have people, this is a big retirement destination, the North Georgia mountains. And we have people, a lot of people from Florida who will move up here permanently. They started out, many of them up north. The cold winters chased them out. They couldn't deal with the cold winters. So they moved down to the warm climate of Florida. Well, the hurricanes, after one hurricane, two, we've had enough of the hurricanes. So they move up here. My target market is those people who are moving from larger cities, metropolitan areas. I have a lot of clients who move from Florida. That is my target market. The people who were born and raised here are not, because they don't understand the value of the services that I provide. They don't see a need for it. You just throw some food out to the dog that is chained up in the yard. We have a huge problem with dogs wandering, dogs on chains, spay and neuter. People won't get their dogs spayed and neutered or their cats spayed and neutered. And that is a huge problem in our area. And so I go, you know what? The locals, I call them the locals, they're not even going to talk to me. They're not going to see the value in what I do. But the people moving from the suburbs, moving from other areas, maybe they have used the services of a professional pet sitter, or they understand, yes, I understand why you charge what you do, because that there's value in that. And that's a huge challenge here. But I keep fighting the good fight. And I'm thinking, I do well enough. I have great clients. I stay as busy as I want to stay. Some days, like today, I have an overnight starting tonight. I haven't had any other visits today, but it's been kind of nice because I'm like, I get to talk to Colin and I don't have to rush around. So it is a blessing. For the pocketbook, it's not if you're not bringing in money, but yeah, the challenges, there are challenges here, but I see that there is a need for someone like me who provides the services that I do. And if there are people who don't want my services, if you need to go hire that hobbyist, then that's what you need to do. If they're going to do it for a lot less than me, and that the only thing you're looking at is the bottom line, how much is it going to cost me money wise, then you're not the right client for me. It hurts my feelings because I want to be the best. I want everybody to pick me. Yeah. But that's not going to happen. So that's been kind of a buzzkill because in coming, I started out busy. People got my name out, Facebook pages down there as well. And I was going nonstop. And up here, it has not been that way. But I'm also at a different point in my life. And I'm sitting here going, I'm not getting any younger. And so I'm just rolling with the changes and going day to day with it.
Yeah, I like to tell Megan sometimes when we feel the same frustrations, because we serve two different communities. One is 2 hours south. It's a much larger town. It's it's 280,000 people or so. And then our other town, which is 2 hours north, that's the much smaller town. The city itself is 21,000 people, and the county's almost 40. So you can really see where the density of people are.
Right.
But I like to say sometimes I feel like we're really about 5 to 10 years too early here with our business. It seems like, because
Bingo.
Like always feeling like we're just with a little bit more time and education, we could really get something. And it does feel like that, to just see the differences between those two, the reception of them, the kind of education that's necessary. And that takes understanding your market. I mean, people listening to this is going, who are you actually talking to? Because you hit it out of the park earlier, Cathy, when you're like, look, we in the business, we understand the importance of being insured, bonded, background checked, the continuing education, all these stuff. So we like to talk about that. But if we're not telling the why or what that gets people or why they should care, it just falls on deaf ears, because all they do is they look at you and they go, well, okay, cool, you've got all these letters after your name, but this person doesn't, and I think they do the same thing, and they're also half the price, so I'm going to go with them. Cool.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to.
Well, at meet and greets, for instance, I will explain the importance of that liability insurance. And because I have an example that I use, it's a professional pet sitter dear friend and colleague of mine. And if she listens to this podcast, she's going to know I'm talking about her, and I think she would be okay with it. But she had an instance where, and this was when I lived in Cumming, where she took care of a client's pets, and I believe she heard water dripping in the bathroom. So she went, and you're thinking, I think she heard the toilet running. You hear that and it's like cha-ching, money. So she tightened, I believe she tightened the valve. Something happened where some water droplets dripped on this client's hardwood floors in the powder room. She comes home, she is livid, and she says to the sitter, you have to pay to have this repaired. And this sitter filed a claim with her insurance, her pet sitter insurance company. And the claim ended up being about $6,900. Now, she did not have that money where she could just write a check to this client. Oh, I'll write you a check for $6,900. She's a solo sitter like I am. And so that liability insurance saved her from pretty much financial ruin. And so I tell people with this liability insurance, it covers your home. If I were to flush a toilet, for instance, and it overflowed, guess what? Your homeowner's insurance would not have to pay that claim because you didn't cause that problem. I did. I would file a claim with my insurance company, and that claim would be paid. And I explained, so it's not just about taking care of your pets, it's your home too. And so people, they go, okay, I'm thinking you shouldn't have to claim on your homeowner's insurance something that I did.
Right.
You shouldn't. And so trying to get people to understand, because when you start talking money to people, their ears perk up. You could say, oh, I'm bonded, I'm sure, I'm trained, and I have all this education, until you start talking dollars with them. Mm-hmm. Then that's when people listen, when you're affecting their pocketbook. And when people do say, oh, well, I think you charge too much. I'm thinking, then that's your opinion. I charge what the market will bear. And that's another challenge. If we want to talk about challenges, people who live in metropolitan Atlanta, for instance, affluent areas of Atlanta, they can go higher on their rates. No problem. Their clients will pay it. Up here, it's a different ballgame. It's not a one size fits all. You can charge the rates that your market will bear. So it's interesting in the various chat groups I'm in, the first thing people go, oh, you need to change your rate, raise your rates. I'm thinking, I cannot do that here. Yeah. That's not going to work here. And so you have to, it's not a one size fits all. In Cumming, I could charge more if I still live down there than I'm charging here. And it's just the nature of the beast. I knew that coming in. And the other thing I want to preface is this is supplemental income for my family. And I'll be honest, if I had to rely on my pet sitting business to pay all my bills, put food on the table, pay my mortgage, pay my car payment, I could not make it up here, period. It wouldn't happen. I would have to move back down to Metro Atlanta. And my husband said, over our dead body. So we're not going to move back. So, but down for solo sitters, I think a lot of solo sitters would really go, yeah, I get that. But I'm blessed. It is supplemental income. It's very important income. It's going into retirement for me so that I have so I don't have to live, eating ramen noodles every day, when I'm 80 years old. So, but it's just trying to get people to understand the value of the services I provide. And at the meet and greets, sometimes my meet and greets go long. I know of sitters, you need to only spend 30 minutes on your meet and greet. For me personally, Colin, that's not enough time for somebody to get to know me, for me to get to know that client, to get to know the pets. My mantra is quality over quantity. And so I will spend the time it takes to make that client feel comfortable, to make sure those pets are comfortable with me, that I have a good feel that I'm comfortable with taking this client on, and has not let me down, not once. Now, if I went in and rushed in, then I could have problems that I really didn't get to know that client. I really didn't get to know those pets. So for me, I have the luxury. I take the time. If it takes an hour, I give it the hour. I don't charge for my meet and greets. I know some do. I don't, because to me, it's like an interview. They are interviewing me. I'm interviewing them to make sure we are compatible. And I tell my clients, I have to have a meet and greet before the start of service to ensure that I am a good fit for you and your pets.
Yeah.
Because I can talk a good game. On the phone, they could think, oh, she's wonderful. I show up and they're going, no, and I could think they're wonderful on the phone. And I go in, no, I can't do this. So the meet and greet is very, very telling. And the clients appreciate, I let them, if it's going to be quick, if they need to make it 30 or 45 minutes, that's on them. I let them kind of dictate. But you learn a lot if you just sit there and you talk to people and you're watching the pets out of the corner of your eye, you're observing them. You learn a lot about people, which gives you more information and more knowledge is power. So that you can go, okay, this is a good fit, and this is going to be a good relationship, and so that's why I devote the time to my meet and greets that I do.
Are you looking to elevate your business? Join the National Association of Professional Pet Sitters, NAPS, today. NAPS is the only national, nonprofit professional pet sitting association dedicated to raising and abiding by industry standards. As a NAPS member, you'll gain access to invaluable resources, including professional certification, business development tools, and networking opportunities. Plus, you'll stay updated on industry trends and best practices to provide top-notch care for your clients' pets. Don't miss out on the support and benefits that can take your business to the next level. Visit petsitters.org and become a NAPS member today.
And you mentioned like that is an important time to have carved out, and kind of a theme that I'm picking up on here, Cathy, is just how you've changed and adapted the business to the pacing, both off of your own needs when you're physically with your going through the surgery and everything, as well as the new community and the pace that it can grow. But what that does provide is those opportunities to be in a meet and greet for an hour and really dive in deep and build that relationship. Because I mean, I love the idea of, and I feel like people should let the client kind of dictate about that. Now, if we are booked back to back to back to back, and I'm in the meet and greet and I've booked and I've got to get 15 minutes after that meet and greet to get to my next visit, we can't let it go for an hour.
Sure,
So it's really fine carving that time out, right? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's a case by case. Exactly. And so when I schedule a meet and greet, I want to make sure I've got enough time after so that if it does go long, I'm not saying, oh gosh, I've got to get up and go to this next visit.
Right.
So I try to, and I guess it's a good problem to have that I'm not doing 29 visits in a day where I go, okay, the meet and greet's got to be 30 minutes done. Bye.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm cheating myself. Yeah. And I know there may be sitters out there who disagree with me, and that is fine. You can disagree. This is just the way I do it. This is the way I run my business. It works for me. It works for my clients. It works for their pets.
And that's what's really important, is to know that pacing. I mean, I've come into a meet and greet with all my information and everything, and the client is basically done talking after about 10 minutes. And there's like, okay, cool. I guess we're done. I may have a few follow-up questions, but then you do have those clients who they're a little bit more, they may be a little bit more helicoptery, or they may need a little bit more assurance, or their pets may have a little bit more involved care. And so trying to do a 30-minute meet and greet for them is almost impossible. And especially as part of this, I've recognized is as that client becomes more comfortable talking to you, more things kind of start bubbling out, right?
Exactly.
Where all of a sudden they start to go, oh yeah, and also.
Exactly. And you start learning more. That's why I'm trying to think, since I moved up here, I have had maybe 1 or 2 meet and greets where the client was done in 30 minutes. So I thought, okay, this is odd. But as a rule, they can go for an hour. I've even had them go hour and a half because we're sitting there. We're talking about other things. I'm telling them about me, my life, so that they can go, okay, I have a very comfortable feeling with this person. My husband, Garland, goes to the meet and greets with me. There are times when he can't because of his work schedule, but I want them to know him because he serves as my backup sitter.
Sure.
And boy, did that. And you have to have a backup sitter. I found that out when I was off my feet for 2 months. So I want my clients, I can say, oh, Garland's great. But I want them to meet him and see for themselves that he's a great guy. As a matter of fact, I'll give an example. We just had a meet and greet with a brand new client on Saturday afternoon. And on the phone, we talked and I said, how do your dogs do with men? And she said, well, 2 of the dogs are fine. My other one, I have 3 brothers-in-law. He hates one of them. He has nipped at a delivery man. And I thought, okay. I said, well, does your dog have problems like with men in uniforms wearing a hat? And she said, no, I don't know what triggered it. She said, but it's kind of, I don't know. And I said, okay, tell you what. I said, I'm going to bring Garland to the meet and greet with me. And what I want you to do, I want you to have treats available. And she had the dogs baby gated in a room so we could come in. I said, we're going to sit down. We're going to be very calm, bring the treats to us, let the dogs come to us, let them check us out. We even sprayed ourselves with Adaptil, which I think is now called Thunder Ease because the people that own the Thunder shirt bought them. We sprayed as a calming pheromone. And I told her, I said, we've sprayed ourselves with this calming pheromone. I just want you, we're going to sit quietly, let the dogs come up. I'm going to let the dogs initiate the quote unquote conversation. Yeah. So she had the treats and she was just nervous as a wreck that the dog was going to go after Garland. He loved Garland. She was floored. And I said, I'm glad you're sitting down. She said, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe how well he is doing with your husband. And I said, well, he has that effect on the pets. I said, I've had clients in the past who have said, oh, my dogs do not do well with men. I said, well, he is my backup sitter. Let's see. Let's do a try. We'll do it at the meet and greet. The dogs love him. Colin, I had him. We lived in Cumming and I was stupidly taking on all 29 visits in a day. And Garland was helping with them. He would do maybe a morning visit. I would do the midday. He would do the bedtime. So the dogs loved him. I would come walking in and they would go, ah, and they go, oh, you're not Mr. Garland. And they would look at me like, oh. And I said, well, wait, it's Miss Cathy. And they're looking for him. And that made me, well, it hurt my feelings, but it made me feel good. Hey, these dogs are comfortable with him. Yeah. And that is great. It makes the client happy. And I've had clients say, well, my dogs are not good with men. And Garland comes in and I don't know what he does. He's got charm. I've been married to him for over 38 years. So he's doing something right. And they are just really happily shocked that, wow. And this lady on Saturday, she could not believe it. She said, I cannot believe how well my dog is doing with your husband. And Garland was just very calm. He's a big guy. He's very tall. And he was just sitting there. And we did a trial walk outside. All of us went out and we sat on the porch. He went and sat over near Garland. Garland gave him treats. He was perfectly fine with them. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of nice when you're like, yes, I won over this dog, or yes, Garland, you won over this dog. But the meet and greet, and we were there for over an hour. We had to give it the time. We could not rush that one at all. That would not have worked. And I'm hoping we walked away from there. I'm hoping that lady's like, thank goodness I found Cathy. So that gives her peace of mind. And that the 3 greatest words you can hear besides the check cleared is you gave me peace of mind. That's the greatest compliment that I get as in my business is when somebody tells me that.
Well, and so, the client being able to see that is one thing, that makes a big impact on that client. I did want to ask you about that peace of mind because the service that we provide is very different in that we do all of the hard work without the clients ever seeing or experiencing any of it directly.
Right.
How do you find giving peace of mind to the client and in communication with them? And how do you feel like it is? I don't even know how to ask this question, Cathy, because it's so weird of like giving them peace of mind through your updates and through that. Is that something that how do you make that work?
Okay. Well, at the meet and greet, when they meet me, they initially go, okay, I've made the right decision of whom I've hired. At the visits, and I let my clients dictate how many updates a day do you want. There are some sitters like, I don't have time for that. Okay, if you're that busy, I understand that. But for me, if the client needs 3 updates a day, I'm going to give that client 3 updates a day. I don't want the client being wigged out. They're on vacation, right? They're supposed to be enjoying themselves. I tell them, I don't want you going on vacation worrying about your pets at home. Now, if you miss them, yes, You're allowed to miss them. You should miss them. But if you're worrying about them, that's telling me I'm not doing my job. So I will have clients who, especially new clients, they'll go, you're doing 3 visits a day. Do you mind sending me an update every visit? Absolutely. I'll be happy to do that. And so what I do is I text, either I'll do a text message, or if they want it via email. I also use WhatsApp, especially for clients who are traveling internationally. I started using WhatsApp. It's more reliable than texting because I know with WhatsApp that my messages were sent and delivered, and I know when the client opened those messages. With text, with SMS, you don't know. It could be lost in cyberland. I'm thinking the client got my text. The client never did. They're freaking out. They're calling me. Hey, did you go visit Fluffy today at 11:30? Well, yeah, I sent you. Yeah, I did. I sent you an update with a picture at 11:45. Well, I never got it.
Yeah.
So I've started trying to convert my clients to using WhatsApp, because that way I know they're getting my messages. They know that I'm getting theirs. And so what I'll do is I'll take pictures. If I can get video, I like to take video. Some of my clients absolutely love the videos. And I will say, sometimes I'll do it from the pet's perspective. Hi, Mom, Miss Cathy's here. We're having a great time. I went out. I was a good girl. I pottied. I ate all of my breakfast. Got to go. Miss Cathy's about to give me a massage. Hope you're having fun. Love you. Bye. I'll do that. Or I'll send it from my perspective. Hey, Sue, I'm here doing the visit. Everything's going great. Fluffy ate all of her breakfast. She went out and pottied. She's doing great. I'll send the pictures, and the clients will go, thank you so much. And some clients are okay with, if I'm doing 3 visits a day, they'll say, well, if you just want to update once a day, maybe the bedtime visit, give me a recap. Sure, I will do that. So I let my clients dictate how often they want to get those updates, because I don't want them worrying. I mean, what good does it do to go on vacation to rest when you're worrying about what's going on at home? And I don't call my clients unless it's an emergency or is something time sensitive. And I tell them that. I say, I text you or WhatsApp because I don't want you enjoying your vacation and your phone rings and my name pops up. The first thing you're going to think is, oh my gosh, what's wrong?
Yeah.
They answer the phone, freaked out. Hey, it's Cathy. Just want to let you know everything's going great. Nah, because
Great,
I do the same thing. I see on the caller ID. Oh, something must be wrong. It's just you jump to that conclusion. So I tell them I will text and I will, or WhatsApp. If you want email, I have one client who prefers email. I'm happy to do that. And just because if it weren't for the clients calling, I wouldn't have a business. Yeah. So there are some things I look at it as being a rubber band. If you stretch that rubber band too tight, it's going to snap. You have to have flexibility. And this is me personally speaking. I've got to have that flexibility with my business so that so that rubber band doesn't snap, so that everything doesn't fall apart. Yeah. And some people would disagree with that, and that's fine. But that's how I have to run my business for my mental state and for my peace of mind, in addition to my client's peace of mind.
I love that example, Cathy, because I think there are time and places for a one size fits all, depending on the kind of service of the area that you're doing or what you need. But to go, I may say, because we talk about this a lot with just Megan and I, of like, people come to us and they may say, I want a plain cheeseburger. And we go, well, you only get a super double deluxe with extra large everything on top of it. We don't offer anything else. And that can be a turnoff for some people, because that's a bigger buy-in that they have to do, or they may need our service, but not like the way we offer it. And so trying to understand, where do I have flexibility? Where are my no-goes, right? Where are my boundaries at a personal, moral, ethical level? And as a business, what will I not do? But is there flexibility in between for us to change how we do the updates, what we send, how it's done, things that are offered or whatever? Like that is it's a very personal decision to make sure that it's working for you, because you can get to the point where now there's so many variations. It can get a little, hairy at times and get a little bit of chaotic, but also knowing a little bit of variation and that flexibility allows us to make sure that we're meeting our clients' needs as they want to be met and as we can do that.
Right. And I tailor my services to the needs of their clients, the clients and their pets. Not all clients are alike. Not all pets are alike. So I tell my potential clients in the meet and greet, I tailor my services to what your pets need. If your pets, especially cats, for instance, if your cats do not want me to engage with them, I'm not going to push myself on them. If I can win them over, I love to do cat enrichment, and I will take tools. I have toys, and if the cats like it, I will make that cat toy for that cat, and I'll put it in a Ziploc bag, and I'll put their name on it so no other cat can have it, right?
Yeah.
And I say, look, I never push myself on an animal. If the dogs want me to engage, if they want me to play with them, I will. If they want to go out and throw the ball, I will. If they just want to lounge around, I'll do that. But not all dogs are alike, even in the same family. Not all cats are alike. If there's multiple cats and multiple dogs in the household, they're not all alike. And so my thing is, I tell my clients, if you come home, if your pets are happy, you're happy. And that makes me very happy because that tells me I did my job. And sometimes with some clients, it's a little more intensive, it's a little more high maintenance, and you just have to understand not all clients are going to be low key. Yeah, whatever. There are some helicopter parents. I'll admit I'm a helicopter pet parent myself. I'm going to admit it. I'm not going to apologize for it. And you just have to take that in consideration that it's not the one size fits all. And if that's how you want to run your business, that's how you run it. You do that. That's not how I run mine. And I think that's why I've had the success here in a rural area. I'm a novelty. People are like, professional pet sitter. I'm the first one up here.
Yeah.
I mean, and you were talking about where you are, you're a few years behind the larger cities. I kind of think that Fannin County is maybe 10 to 15 years behind Metro Atlanta in the mentality of pet ownership. It's just the way it is. And the animal control ordinances are pretty loose here. I wish they would tighten up a bit. Just trying to get people from letting their dogs roam. I mean, the people who've lived here all their lives, we have a problem where they don't like people moving up here, trying to change things and telling them what to do. Sure. And so I've always let my dogs roam. I've never had a problem. And now you're telling me I can't, and they have an issue with that. But the next thing you know, the dog's getting hit by a car. Why? Because the population is growing up here. Somebody gets bitten by a dog. How do you know that dog's had its rabies vaccination? You don't. And so it's a health and safety issue for me personally. I don't like to tell people what to do with their property or their dogs. But if it's a health and safety issue, then I have a problem with it. And that's a huge problem we have here that I did not have in Cumming because the county down there had strict animal control ordinances. The animal control officers reported to the sheriff, whereas here in Fannin County, animal control answers to the county commission chairman. It's very different. But as people are moving up here, they're going, wait a minute, we don't like these dogs roaming. And people, the transplants, as I like to call them, which I am one of, I would like to see some stricter animal control ordinances. I don't want to see a lot of changes per se in this county. I moved from Forsyth County for a reason. It got too big for its britches, it was crazy. Moved up here at a slower pace of life. I don't want to change that. I moved to the mountains for the mountains to change me, not for me to change the mountains. And that's why the locals, they'll get on Facebook. They won't say it to your face, but keyboard warriors get on there. Oh, they hate anybody who moves up here. They hate the tourists because Blue Ridge is a tourism destination. And I hate to say it. I love my Florida people. They despise people who move from Florida because they think they're coming up to take over and to change everything. And so I'm thinking, no, we have every right. Everybody has a right to live here. And I'm sure the people in Florida hate seeing people from up here in Atlanta coming down there, taking over their beaches for vacation. And it's that way everywhere. Probably the people who live at the beaches in Florida hate anybody coming in, because you're changing things, you're tearing everything up, you're trashing everything. So it's like, can't we just all get along? But it's it's a different world, Colin, but at this stage in my life, it's where I feel like I need to be. But I also enjoy having my business. I'm not ready to retire from it, and I would like to keep doing it and have people who move here. Oh gosh, I have an option. Wow. Look at this. She is the real deal. She's got all of these qualifications. I need to give her a call. And then they're glad that they did. And so that works well. Not everybody. I'm not the best fit for everybody. And it's usually because of financial reasons. But that's just the way it is. And I'm going, okay, well, there's going to be somebody else who will come along, value what I do, and I can provide the best. And I tell my clients, you and your pets deserve the very best. And that's what I strive to give.
I love that, Cathy. And I really want to thank you for coming on the show today and encouraging us to find that pace, set that pace, and embrace that in the message that we can bring to our clients, and that peace of mind, and serve them how they need to be served, and how sometimes we have to push a little bit more to make those changes happen, but it's worth that effort for that care and that peace of mind.
Absolutely.
I know there's a whole lot more here, and that you do a whole lot more things as well. So for people who'd like to get in touch and follow along with everything that you do, Cathy, how best can they do that?
Okay, they can. If you're talking anybody, I have a website. It is www.gointothedogsga.com, and it's GOINTOTHEDOGSGA.com. People try to put that G at the end of going, and they can't find me. And I said, it's Goin, because in my title of my business is GOIN with the apostrophe after the N.
Yeah.
And people just think, oh, it's going, and they end up going somewhere else. But that's the best way. That's a great way for people to come and learn more about me, because everything you need to know is on that website. Yeah. And I also have a business Facebook page, Going to the Dogs. I have a personal Facebook page. It's under Cathy E. Duvall. So people can find me on Facebook. And if they've got insomnia and they want to learn all about what I went through with my accident when I had to have all of those surgeries, I kept a journal or blog, I guess you could call it, on my personal Facebook page, a weekly update about how I was doing and all of the fun of going through it. People really enjoyed reading, because I have a journalism degree. My background is journalism. And so I put my writing skills, to work with that. And I have people going, you ought to write a book about your experiences. I said, I don't know, maybe if I can slow down long enough. But the Facebook page is my website. If they want to email me, it's gointothedogsga@gmail.com. And they can call me. If you want me to give the phone number, give me a call, text me. I'd love to talk to you. Yeah, my number is 770-883-4644. And I do have the ability, that's my cell number, to text. And you can text me and just say, hey, if you want to. I'd love to hear from people. That would be great.
Awesome. Well, Cathy, I'll have all those links in the show notes on our website so people can get connected with you there.
Cool.
I'm so encouraged by our conversation and so happy to have you on the podcast and everything. So, Cathy, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Colin, this has been a treat. You and Megan are rock stars. I just want to make your head a little bit big. But I really, when we were at the conference and then you wrote to me and said, hey, how would you like to do a podcast? I thought, well, I told my husband, who's going to want to hear what I have to say? He said, you got a lot of good stuff to say. And I said, okay, well, Colin wants to hear what I have to say, so we'll do it. So thank you so very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. I'm very thankful for the time, Cathy. So thank you.
Thank you, Colin. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you.
My biggest takeaway from my conversation with Cathy was that after everything is stripped away, client experience and client customer service is at the core of what we do. When she said that the greatest compliment that we can receive is when a client tells us we gave them peace of mind, and that's how we know we did our job well. Because our clients don't experience the pet care firsthand. They learn about it, and then they look at their pet. They experience it through our updates and through our videos, through our phone calls, however we're updating them. But then they see how their pet responds and the condition of their home. And if they can set their phone aside while they're on vacation, if they can step away to go enjoy a sunset or a dinner or time with family and not be brought back over to their home or how their cat is doing, what a beautiful gift that we can give to somebody. We want to thank today's sponsors, Time to Pet, and the National Association of Professional Pet Sitters for making today's show possible. And we really want to thank you for listening. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll be back again soon.